Hello, and welcome to the Hallway Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Kieran Brennan. With me, as always, my co-host.
The man that United forgot rain. And Kieran, I was expecting it to calm down after the second one, but the second one was even more violent than the first. It was like a double one. So yeah, how are you?
I'm good, I guess. Yeah, it's Valentine's Day. Oh, who's your Valentine, Reen?
My pillow. I don't know. I'm trying to pick between my left and my right pillow. John Silver's my Valentine, as we can see on the thumbnail. We come up with lovely spontaneous. Thanks, Dits, for that one. We had Kieran with Finn Balor. Kieran didn't want to be seen with Finn Balor in public right now. He said it would ruin his PR. But yeah, Valentine's Day. Yeah, what an interesting day.
Interesting. I feel like it's one of the more dull holidays. It's a very intimate holiday. No one ever really talks about it, I suppose.
Yeah, but like
bitter single people.
Yeah, if you're in a good relationship, then it should be Valentine's Day every day, and this seems just like some sort of like forced loving day.
No, I disagree with that because you can't. Because Valentine's Day, you do a special dinner and you make everything nice. You can't do that every day or every weekend. That's just too much.
Yeah, the special dinner and all that. I wonder how people are spending their cold Valentines. Without in terms of the dinner. I don't want to know what goes on behind closed doors, but I wonder how people are. I wonder how people are adjusting. I'd say that restaurant business is very, very, very angry that they can't take it back. It's always probably a big time for them. So, but yeah, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. You're all our Valentines because you listen.
Listeners are Valentines. Oh.
Yeah, you're and a decent amount of listeners at that. We're really happy with the numbers at the moment, so thank you. But Kieran, in general, how are you? How has your week been? It's good to talk to you again.
Yes, it is. I'm fine. I've been watching the X-Men movies, which suck. No, they don't suck, but the last few of them really suck. It's a weird franchise because it just died a horrible death, but some of the movies are amazing 5 stars, and then others are just 1 stars. There's very little in between. Really weird. I don't know.
Yeah. What have I been doing this week? It wasn't as busy as last week. I mean, we're always transparent on this podcast, and we always like to talk about the mental health. And this week hasn't been it hasn't been the best week in the world, but we're at the end of it, and we have a week off college next week. Takeovers tonight, so I can't really complain. We move on. But I don't think I have ever since The Office finished. Do you ever get that thing where you finish a big series and you kind of take a few weeks off? You kind of take a lull where you're trying to decide where you're next. I watched a few episodes of Trailer Park Boys. That's what I did, actually.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that yet.
It's interesting. It's the first few episodes are it's really old school. It's one of them things where you kind of look at it, you kind of watch the first episode and you're like, is this really my generation? Is it really worth going for? And it is kind of the humor isn't this. You can tell the differences in the humor between that and modern day humor, but it is interesting, and I'll give it more of a go than I'll give it more of a go. Watch one season and then judge it. But yeah, just been watching a lot of To be honest, I've been watching a lot of wrestling. I've been enjoying just having a look at stuff that I haven't looked at before. I watched a bit of MLW. Obviously, the weekly shows were good. There was a great AEW main event this week, which we'll get on to. But yeah, college has been keeping us busy. I'm currently writing an article on mental health and sport. That's going to take up the most of my evening after this when this podcast is released. And yeah, so in terms of admin, we're not perfect, but we're doing all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a little chat to start. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. If you're in a couple, well done. Very, 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 very happy for you. But yeah, wrestling. Let's go into that news. Sammy Guevara. Let's go first to Sammy Guevara because, as we saw on Impact last night, first of all, the forbidden door is even more open, Kieran, because. Debuting in the Impact Zone this Wednesday, our New Japan tag team, Juice Robinson and David Finlay, the son of Finlay, Finn Juice, will be in the Impact Zone this Wednesday. It was announced on their pay-per-view last night. It is.
They are New Japan guys, yes?
They are New Japan contracted talent.
That is very interesting.
And then a further report that says Kazuchika Okada is expected to appear for Impact and or AEW, according to Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer newsletter. He mentioned that Okada is expected to appear in the current partnership. Everyone's in business now. It's all open. Okada's coming at some point somewhere. I don't know where, but I know he's coming, Meltzer said. What do you think of that, Kieran? We know Okada's known as one of the best wrestlers in the world, but a lot of people are saying, is there a lot of fresh dream matches that Okada? Because like Okada's fought a lot of the guys like Omega and people in thing, and Okada in Impact just doesn't seem right. So I wonder what your thoughts are on the potential matches or matches you would like to see.
I don't really know much about Impact's roster, but I do think that's really interesting that like you have this trio of, I guess, the three biggest non-WWE promotions in the world, have all kind of come together, which is really weird and really interesting. And I still don't understand how it's going to benefit AEW, but man, like New Japan, they're definitely going to get a few more eyes when they eventually have their weekly US show.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's cool. But on the flip side of that story, news that just broke in the last 2 hours, Tony Khan is very upset with Sammy Guevara over potentially hurting AEW's relationship with Impact. So we're going to talk about AEW later, but there was a great angle this week where Sammy Guevara said, "I'm done with the Inner Circle. I'm finished. This is over." There was a segment with MJF where he recorded him and then he punched him because MJF tried to like set him up, saying something bad about the Inner Circle. He left and he walked out, and there was a report. So Khan reportedly contacted Impact, and so Guevara walks out, which is, and the good thing for him is he should go away for a while, and him going to Impact would make sense because he'd be able to wrestle, and maybe he comes back with his own faction, or maybe he just comes back after not being on TV. So Khan reportedly contacted Impact, and the sides agreed to a way of writing Guevara into an angle. Plans were made to shoot the angle the next day, but Impact reportedly received a message from Guevara himself complaining about the creative direction. Impact then reached out to Khan and Jericho with Guevara's apparent displeasure. Jericho reached out to Don Callis about banning Guevara from Impact's premises. By the time Guevara arrived in Nashville, he received a message from Jericho advising him to return home and not to head to Impact's shoot location. Wow. Okay. Lot to unpack in that. Not a great look. I'm a big fan of Sammy Guevara, but he is in no way in a position to... He can say if he doesn't like the creative, but I don't know why I don't know. I'm very confused as to why he would say no.
I don't know. I mean, Impact has a reputation, doesn't it?
Yeah, but this is like this. Well, it might become clear when we know what the angle is. But I would have assumed it would have been just Sammy just going away for a while and kind of just getting off screen and then coming back as this fiery babyface to take on Jericho or MJF or something. Which I would be fully on board with, because this Inner Circle storyline needed to be nipped in the bud, and thankfully the wheels are in motion for that. I just find it weird that Sammy, even though he's established, he's far from that position where we see wrestlers who can control their own narrative, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I doesn't look, not a good look. But yeah, next. Yeah, okay, I want to get your opinions on this, Karen, because this is angering everyone. I think, I'm assuming you're on the same page. Casey Catanzaro. Yeah, she has been seen with masks off in nightclubs after telling people to wear their masks and stay safe, and been seen having house parties with a lot of talent, and then she was like just in a nightclub and like filming herself. Yeah. I'm assuming you're in the same boat as everyone else when you think that this is a stupid act from a person who probably is very, very young and very not quite mature to what she probably doesn't realize that when you're on TV for WWE, you kind of are a role model, and to be doing stuff like this is just, I'm going to say straight up, I thought I was trying to dodge it. It's stupid.
Yeah. Don't. And the idea of I get a test every week, I think she said, stop, shut up, it doesn't matter. Unless you're getting a test every 5 seconds, it does not matter. You could have contracted it within a week and given it to 100, 1,000 more people, you know?
Yep. But we won't get into a rant. Let's nip it in the bud, but like, come on, cop on. Yeah, I'm trying to dodge around it because we're gonna talk about it now so we can get it out of the way. Oh yeah, here's the story. Right, sorry. Progress. First event in a year airs on WWE Network next week.
Not
Little
really
bit
interesting.
little bit 50-50 here. All right, let's just talk about the pros and cons here. 1 year after the last show, Progress returns Wrestling Chapter 104 Natural Progression. It will air on the WWE Network. Now, besides all of the stuff that happened with Progress and all the controversy and what happened, the lineup for this is full of young talent who are fantastic and had nothing to do with anything and were just working hard and needed a break. And they're going to get paid, and this is great. It'll be the commentary team will be Hustle Malone and Charles Crowley. Charles Crowley's the guy who made that "You're Cordially Invited." Did you see that cinematic thing, Kieran? It
Um,
is. I need to send
no,
it to you. It is right up your alley. It is something. It was basically a cinematic match. It had Martina and everything. It was very, very good. And they had Greg Khali on cameo saying Brit Rest is dead in it. It was very funny. But Chapter 104 will feature quarterfinals of the Natural Progression Series tournament, the seventh Natural Progression Series tournament, with Kid Like Us 2, who also known as Joe Nelson, Elijah, good wrestler, Big Guns Joe, really good wrestler, Man Like the Rice, Luke Jacobs and Ethan Allen, Kieran. These are in a tag team called the Young Guns, and they fought
yeah.
each other in Germany. You've seen them live, yeah, you have. Oh, fuck. Yeah, there was a match between these two in Germany in a shoot style match, and it was one of the best matches I've ever watched live. It's fantastic. They are so good. Then Danny Black and Warren Banks. Cara Noir will also appear defending his title against Driller Dan Maloney, as will Gene Money, and Millie McKenzie versus Mercedes Blake is confirmed for the card as well. Now this is great, but obviously there's a lot of criticism of it online, which some of it I agree with, some of it I don't. Obviously, they didn't really handle the speaking out movement well, but they've. But
Is
this,
anyone in this card were they outed in the speaking out movement?
no, they weren't. But they obviously the people who run the thing are there was a few people who ran the thing who were kind of involved, and I assume that, and then when it's a WWE linked product now, and it's the indie wrestling selling their soul to the devil. Obviously, you're gonna get criticism, but I'm gonna be positive on this podcast this week and just go. I'm really happy for the young lads who are getting a paycheck in this pandemic. Um,
Yeah,
and
there has these are guys. This is a company that hasn't put on a show in a year.
yeah,
You know,
I'm
like
these lads are probably all working on like in shops or building sites or just working in an office or anywhere just to make ends meet and to get a paycheck and be on the W Network and get that exposure. Like, let's just put a positive spin on it. You can listen to a load of podcasts where people talk shit about it, and that's fine, and you can understand their points, and we understand their points as well. But like, I don't want to waste my time trying to dig through what's wrong, everything that's wrong with Progress, and what's wrong with WWE monopolizing the indie wrestling scene as my pens fall over. But yeah,
it's like you just shattered something.
I know. Stone Cold walked in and gave me a stunner. He's like, "You chatting shit about the WWE?"
But
But yeah,
I don't know. I think this is one of the things where everyone needs to take just a step back from the whole WWE killing Brit wrestling, because right now British wrestling fucking it's been dead for a year anyway, and just be like, these guys weren't even allowed to wrestle. At least they are getting paid now in some form. They're getting a decent audience. I don't know. To me, it's more of a positive than anything else.
You are allowed to be happy for people. It is not a crime. Well done, lads. I'm gonna watch a little bit of it, and I'll definitely be watching the Ethan Allen and Luke Jacobs match. So I really like those lads, and they're big fan. Smackdown falls below 2 million viewers, and meh. Anything else that's not linked to WWE signed Blake Christian and Christian Casanova. That's another round of signings. Blake Christian's quite good. Anthony Joshua was announced. I'm gonna do double leagues. That's what Muhammad Ali done. I wouldn't be surprised in seeing that, Kieran. You know, he's a box. What?
There was a bit of big news. I'm surprised you haven't brought it up yet. I thought you were going to. WWE's freeze promotions and raises for employees.
That's just
after like what was it, like the highest earning quarter or year they've ever had or something?
Record profits, Kieran. Record profits.
Well, I think when COVID started and they let go of a lot of people, I was kind of like, oh well, the company needs it, so maybe I don't know. And I would kind of jump to the defense. This feels fairly fucking inexcusable to me.
Yep.
And I regret sticking up for him a year ago.
Yep.
Because fuck you. Like, honestly, you're making more money than ever before, and you're not going to give people raises or anything or promotions. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I don't understand. Just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me. It apparently loads of people on Smackdown and like backstage are super fucking pissed at this as well.
Yeah, and as they should be.
Mm.
You deserve a like you deserve some like if you're on the thing that's been if you've worked hard and you deserve a pay raise, and like as any job, as any 9 to 5, contracts have to be adhered by, and I'm assuming that there's something in. Oh, but they're independent. I hate this. I hate getting into this WWE or evil thing because they are, but there's so many reasons that you have to dig through, and like, yeah, listen on
Not
the
a
face.
black and white situation most of the time, you know.
Yeah, on face value, it's not a good look. But like, are we gonna change it? No. Um, the only way it changes is if the system changes, and the only way the system changes is if the man at the top isn't there anymore, and that's the problem. It starts at the top and feeds its way down. So yeah, yeah, that's a really sad situation, but I hope that gets resolved, and I hope we see like something like them getting compensated for the poor that kind of poor decision. But yeah, Kieran, we've been dodging around it. I don't know if there's any more news before it. We're gonna get out of the way now because I do not want to wait and I do not want to talk about it anymore after this. Um, Nia Jax's arse. Right.
Oh
Yeah.
man, this
What
joke
did
was killed within 12 hours of it being made. Like, oh
what
my
did you
god.
what it was killed on SmackDown as well. It was killed long before SmackDown aired. What did you lad? Listen, we're not going to explain what happened. You know what happened. If you're listening to this, you know what happened. Nia
If you're in
Jax
this type of Nia Jax, my hole.
Nia Jax fell on her arse and screamed, "My hole!" like a beautiful Irish woman, like only like in her beautiful Irish colloquial terms, and then got put through tail by Lana, and it got turned into a meme. It was good for the first few hours. My favorite was the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs song with her saying "My hole." My hole, my hole. It's off to work we go. Blah blah blah. But yeah, Kieran, what were your thoughts as someone who loves a good belly laugh? But I'd say this got buried pretty quickly.
Clip is fucking hysterical. To be fair, the clip is really, really funny. But somewhere, I think when I was going through Twitter, maybe like around the 56th time I had seen a my whole joke, I started to get a bit tired of it. Because I don't know, it's like a Titus World slide or something. Whereas it's so fucking funny when it first happens, but no one kills a joke in wrestling like the internet wrestling community. And then of course WWE jump on it, and then it stops being cool. So at least that helps because people stop making jokes whenever WWE does it.
Yeah, they kind of just killed it by doing like basically making her do it again on SmackDown with who was it, Bianca and Bianca and Sasha tripping her up. But yeah, like she fell on her tailbone on the hardest part of the ring, and like it's pretty hard thing to do to hit your tailbone, but if you do, it is a painful part of your body to get an impact on because it goes right up your back. Everyone will remember the King of the Ring tournament where Kurt Angle wrestled Shane McMahon, where he threw him through the glass. That was a year anniversary that came up recently. But not many people, a lot of people forget that Kurt Angle broke his tailbone in like 5 minutes into the match, and wrestled the rest of the match with the broken tailbone and went through the glass like twice. One of the best matches of all time. But yeah, tailbone is very sore, and you can understand her reaction. But then she was like, "Ow, ow," and then just screamed "my hole" after, and then yeah. So yeah, that happened. Wrestling. If you're listening to this and you're not a wrestling fan, first of all, where did you find us? And second of all, yeah, that's wrestling. But keep listening.
Speaking of, speaking of horribly unfunny things in wrestling, I saw now you watched Being the Elite. I don't know
Yeah.
when this was, but I saw this clip of Gallows and Anderson and Young Bucks, and the Gallows and Anderson were naked and swinging their dicks like helicopters. What the fuck? What is this? Was
Yeah.
that
Okay.
recent? That was something I've totally missed from like 2 years ago.
That was this week. Okay, listen. Being the Elite,
The
I
worst
look.
thing I've fucking seen. That was
Being
terrible.
being the Elite is fantastic. The Dark Order stuff is brilliant. This
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, there's a lot more to this than you think. Gallows and Anderson and the Young Bucks versus the Dark Order was the highest edited match in AEW history because Gallows pretended to light up a joint and smoke it while they were doing the powerbomb position, and they had to edit the match quite heavily. And then they did a thing where they're doing a thing now where they're like they do some good stuff like Gallows got woken up by Private Party and he turned into Festus with a PH. They said Festus with a PH just because Vince wouldn't sue them. But yeah, they basically do this thing where Gallows they kind of act like they're like we don't want to wrestle, like we just can't come here to like pick up our money, and like then Gallows has an obsession with like wanking and cum.
It's horrible.
Yeah, Gallows is a weird guy. He seems really, really nice.
Worst fucking sketch I had ever seen. They were swinging their like helicopters and talking about how they let their grannies watch them or something. It was so weird.
Yeah, it is strange. We want to talk about New Japan because that's, if you want to look up New Japan, there's a few events going on right now. I want to ask you about a few signings before we go on, and then I have a new segment that I want to debut. But Kieran, first of all, Parker Bordeaux. Have you seen this guy? This Brock Lesnar lookalike that they signed to the WWE Performance Center. Look him up. Heyman brought him in. He's training the Performance Center. Parker Boudreaux or whatever. You kind of get him. But then Rick Steiner's son, Bronston Rex Steiner, is also signed.
He really does look like Brock Lesnar, doesn't he?
I know. He's huge as well. With the right sculpting, you get him.
You just need to dye his hair, though, and it'll be like totally different.
It'll be fun. Yeah, and then Kieran, there was another interesting signing. Bailey Matthews, Kieran. He was a young lion in Japan, and he kind of trained. He trained under the Japanese dojo system. He's from Blackpool, and his dad is none other than William Regal. William Regal's son, Bailey Matthews, is signed to the Performance Center, and they haven't mentioned that he's his son. They just mentioned he's from Wolves. They basically did everything to make sure that they knew it was William Regal's son without mentioning that it was William Regal's son.
Huh.
So yeah. And then final news that it just came up: AEW files trademarks for Forbidden Door and Forbidden Portal. Great.
Sure. I guess that'll be like a pay-per-view name or something.
Yeah, maybe that'd be actually a good name for their combined pay-per-view. But listen, we got NXT predictions. We have TV segments to talk about, but I want to debut a segment, Kieran. I came up with this idea when I was just like, we might as well do this. It's just kind of like question of the week. Like it's a lot of it's like hypotheticals.
Mm-hmm.
And my one this week, and you guys, I'm going to put it up on Twitter after this episode. Right. So, as I said, Kieran, hypotheticals, right? Somehow you're in a room or you're in an interview with Vince McMahon, and you have spiked him with just enough truth syrup for about 2 minutes. So you have Vince McMahon on truth syrup for like 2 minutes. So that's one question, let's just say, right? What question do you want him to answer truthfully, either from his past or just a question that you're curious about? What question?
This is way too heavy for a podcast. So I'd ask him about Jimmy Snuka and how much he knew about that and what he thinks about that whole situation.
Well, yeah, Oh, I know it's a heavy subject, but like that's kind of an interest. It's an interesting thing because like Vince is such a like. I was talking this with friends, like the Last Ride documentary. We see Vince as a human for 10 seconds, and they cut the camera off. Like so, being asked hypothetically, being allowed to ask Vince one question, and have to him answer it truthfully.
Ask him what he thinks about AEW. Maybe that's a bit more fun for a podcast.
Yeah, listen. We can't always listen. There's hard hitting questions, and when it comes to Vince, there's a lot of like skeletons in the closet, and you're fair to ask questions about that. What question would I ask him? What would I ask him? What's wrong? Like, what's your thing against sneezing? Would be a good one. I'd love to hear his rant about is just him on Truth Surf talking about people who sneeze. But yeah, there's so many you could ask him about. Just so many, the steroid scandal, what actually went on. But yeah, listen, we've forgotten the biggest news story of the week, and it kind of segues onto this, sadly. I'll get the news story up now, Kieran.
Oh, no.
It was so. I'm sorry for the heavy. I need to look up the news story here. Kieran, what other questions would you ask him while I'm trying to find the story? Fill the audio.
I'd ask him. I'd ask him who his favorite member of the current roster is. I'd ask him his opinion on NXT roster. I think that would be kind of interesting. I would ask him his opinions on women's wrestling and the women's evolution and all that. I think that could be really interesting, especially if you're getting honest answers, like what he thinks of that division. Ask him what he thinks of independent wrestling. What does he know about the independent wrestling scene, or is he just totally unaware of it? Internet wrestling culture, I think, would be interesting. Just ask him anything, and you'd get like a really fascinating discussion, I feel.
Yeah. Okay, Kieran. So Lee Cole 3 on Twitter tweeted. So this is a heavy-handed subject. Just a warning. If you want to skip ahead 5 minutes, that's perfectly acceptable. Sorry for the start. We'll get on to wrestling in about 5 minutes. My brother, he tweeted, my brother Tom committed suicide a couple hours ago. Vince McMahon and his wife Linda let child molesters into their company years ago and did everything possible to cover up what they did to my brother. I hope you can sleep good at night, Vince. Our family suffers. Thank you. And this was retweeted by David Bixenspan, who writes for who was part of Dark Side of the Ring season 3, was a part of the writing. He tweeted, as his brother Lee tweeted below, Tom Cole 50, the central accuser in the WWE ring boy molestation scandal, killed himself tonight. I have a lot more to say, but this fucking sucks. If you don't know the story, then start with my BI feature from October. So I don't know if you know anything about this, Kieran, about this scandal from back in the day. This is something that I had no idea about, and I'm surprised I didn't. I know about the steroid scandal, but this sexual abuse scandal that was in WWE, I had no idea about. I don't know if you saw the story or what your initial thoughts when you hear that, because I was shocked.
I don't know anything about this, so I'm gonna step away for now because I genuinely don't know anything about this.
Yeah, it's really sad to see that. Obviously, someone committing suicide is terrible, and with all the support to the family, hopefully they can grieve properly. And obviously, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about. But that was a big. We couldn't go over that story because it was the biggest story that broke this week. We might talk about it if we can, if we can educate ourselves on it as well. We might chat about it, but hopefully that they can grieve properly and get closure on that story. Sorry for the heavy-handedness, but there's no way to segue this quite well. But it's time to talk about weekly wrestling, Kieran. The standard was very good this week. Standard was very, very high. We're building into Takeover. Are you happy about the NXT Takeover tonight, Kieran? Your boys in
NXT Takeover Vengeance Day. I really like the name, and it's red as well. I like it when they break from the regular team.
Yeah, I'm happy. It came out of nowhere, but there's some really good matches on there. Do we want to just jump straight into predictions and then talk about wrestling, or do we want to talk about wrestling and then do predictions to close out?
Predictions, go on. Give me the card.
All right, we'll talk about NXT first, actually, then, because that just makes perfect sense. I'm going to get the NXT report up. It's been a long day at work, so I haven't been able to get everything ready, but, we love a good unorganized podcast. NXT grades. We love Cultaholics grades. They're quite simple. They are fantastic, and they do great graded shows. Here we are. Right, on NXT, we had the first semi-final, Kieran, which was MSK, Nash Carter, and Wesley, formerly known as the Rascals, against Legado del Fantasma. And as you can imagine, this match was about 150 miles an hour, Kieran. It didn't stop. It was a brilliant match, and MSK won with by pinfall to advance to the final. So remember, we were talking about last week here in the new school of the bracket. MSK are representing the new school in the final. And Scarlett entered William Regal's office and made it clear that he would need to sanction Karrion Kross versus Santos Escobar. They're doing a little storyline here, which I like. Karrion Kross going after the Cruiserweight champion, just trying to make an example of him. It's heel versus heel, but, Karrion Kross isn't really a heel. He just doesn't care about anybody. Badass, Kieran. Remember that term. Not a heel, not a face. NXT General Manager was glad to agree NXT Cruiserweight Champion told Wilde and Mendoza to make up their loss by finding Cross, and then Cross laid out Legado del Fantasma. So MSK going on. This Xia Li thing, Kieran, have you seen this? She's got
little bit.
She's got Tian Sha is the name that's been announced. This mythical character that's not mythical, sorry, this mysterious character that's been sitting on the stage while Xia Li obliterates people. And Cora Jade, sadly, was in the final line because Xia Li just kicked the fuck out of her. Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter arrived to distract at the start, but it didn't last long. And she knocked her out cold with a spin kick. And then Catanzaro got knocked out with a spin kick. Funny. The women's Dusty Classic. The Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon versus The Way. Blackheart and Moon defeated LeRae and Hartwell to advance to the final, Kieran. Are you happy? Do you think that's the right choice? LeRae and Hartwell seem to be like this kind of, they're in the way. I was surprised they didn't get to the final, but Blackheart and Moon are kind of two very likable people, and it's really cool to see them getting a push.
Yes, I really like Blackheart, obviously. Ember Moon's okay. I don't know. I was never too crazy on Ember Moon. It's weird. I don't know.
Fresh off reports that he was imminently being called up to the main roster, Austin Theory went up against Kushida, and Kushida defeated Theory, and tonight we're getting Kushida versus Johnny Gargano. And now listen, Kieran, for all the criticism, we both have been we don't agree on many things, but we've agreed in our criticism of Johnny Gargano's heel character. I don't like it, and I know you were, it doesn't really, it's not very like good in your opinion either. I think we've discussed this, that it's really hard to kind of understand the character when he was a face for so long. And I don't think they pulled it off properly. But Gargano versus Kushida tonight, sign me up for that. Yes, please. I'm very happy.
Yeah, is Kushida just full-time NXT now, or is he switching between 205 Live again? Because he was 205 for a while.
He's full-time NXT.
Good, excellent. He should have been from the start. I don't know why they messed it up and brought him to 205 Live.
Dude, he's so good. He is so good. It's frightening. Dexter Newman pulled Theory below to save Kushida, and then Kushida locked Theory and Gargano in hoverboard locks, and Loomis put Theory to sleep. There was a disqualification, and then they had a melee at the end, so Kushida won by DQ. Gargano was faking an arm injury. Did you see the x-ray where it was his arm was broken in half? It was clearly fake. It was, yeah. And now, Kieran, one of the segments of the week. Have you seen this? Please tell me you've seen this. Did you see the Cameron Grimes promo?
Is this the one where he talked about GameStop stocks?
Yeah, this is good.
Yes.
This is fantastic. This is
interesting to go about it. Yeah,
this was really, really good. He came out. So a vignette aired for Imperium. Then Cameron Grimes appeared in a Lamborghini, giving out money on his way to the ring. He had revealed that he's now seriously rich from investing in GameStop and Dogecoin. I think that's how you pronounce it. And he told William Regal he would now choose what he did in NXT with all his money. I like it. Yeah. It's a change.
It's a change for his character. I was never too into his character, but it's just more comedic. I kind of like that. Yeah, it comes from me.
Yeah, I like it. It's kind of it's the modern day version of JBL is what I'm getting from the start. Someone who's just going to use their money to try and get whatever. He'd probably hire an assistant. Hopefully not. I don't want to see someone. There's too many. It's too cliquey. Don't want all these factions. Just keep Cameron Grimes to himself. But he probably will hire an assistant or something. But yeah, and then we got the men's Dusty Classics other semi-final: Thatcher and Ciampa versus Grizzled Young Veterans. And Kieran, as you can imagine, this was great. Why wouldn't it be? Two of the best tag teams. Sorry, one of the best tag teams in the world, and two people who are just fantastic wrestlers individually in their own right. What more could you want? Ciampa and Thatcher obviously working as the baby faces. Grizzled Young Veterans working their style perfectly. Just slowing it down, and people are like, "Oh, they're not great in the ring." Well, they're heels, and you're not going to see them do flips. James Drake is an underrated wrestler, in my opinion. His corner drop kick is insane. And Zach Gibson, he's a heel. He's hardly going to be doing Spanish flies all around, and he's still a very good wrestler in his own right. So Ciampa landed hard in his neck, and Thatcher was forced to fight in a handicap match, basically for half the match. And then Ciampa fired back, and then they won with the Ticket to Mayhem after a Doomsday device for a huge victory, and they advanced to the final. And then they had GYV and GYV and MSK square off. They had the Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon, Shotzi Blackheart and Gonzalez and Raquel Gonzalez, our new favorite, and Dakota Kai square off. And then finally, in the middle of the ring to close off the show, was Mr. Peter Dunne and Finn Balor, who are fighting this tonight in the main event. Kieran, how do you feel about that?
I cannot wait for Finn Balor, Pete Dunne. I think it's going to be an incredible match.
Oh, it's gonna fuck.
Yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to that. The rest of the card is solid, but that match in particular is like, wow.
Yeah, listen. It's an NXT that's gone under the radar, but with like just pure wrestling, and like you've got Kushida against Gargano, you've got Pete Dunne against Finn Balor, you've got MSK against GYV, and you've got that women's tag match, and you've got Toni Storm versus Io Shirai versus Mercedes Martinez in a triple threat for the title. Like, yeah, hook it to all my veins.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be a really, really solid takeover.
Yeah. Well, let's go through the predictions. Why not? For a bit of fun. We used to have a belt, but fuck that. First of all, I'm going to go off the top of my head. I think I know the card off by heart. We have Toni Storm versus Io Shirai versus Mercedes Martinez. Triple threat for the title. Does the title change hands, Kieran, and to who?
No, it's not going to change hands. That's my prediction, anyway. I think it'll stay the same.
Yeah. I think it could. Like, if it does change hands, Io Shirai won't be pinned. And I think if that happens, it will be going to Mercedes Martinez. As much as we're big fans of Toni Storm here, I don't think it's her time yet. She's going to have her time, 100%, but I don't think it's her time yet. I think they're going to keep her off the belt. I'm going to go with Mercedes Martinez to win the title by pinning Toni Storm.
Hey.
I'm going to go. Because Mercedes Martinez is coming back off this stupid retribution angle. Just hit her with that big moment, and that'd be cool. Because we haven't had a title change in a while in NXT. Let's not forget that. Next up, we have MSK versus Grizzled Young Veterans. Kieran, are we going to get Grizzled Young Veterans winning the Dusty Classic this time, or are we going to get MSK being shot to the moon straight off there? This is a tough one.
Not win.
No?
No.
I agree. I'd like to see GYV win. I think they stand for old school. And Dusty Rhodes is kind of like the epitome of the old school. Obviously he wrestled back in the day, and he kind of defined a lot of an era before this. So yeah, I think Grizzly Young Veterans would be the perfect winners of this. I don't like, the thing is, MSK do not look weak whatsoever.
No.
You can do some GYV stuff to get them to win. But like MSK have had a great run straight off the bat. Even if they do lose, it's probably the best start to an NXT career in a long time. In probably the pandemic era, I would say. Like, there's a lot of people who've debuted during the pandemic era, and I think MSK have come off looking fantastic. And I'm really happy for them, because they're two great wrestlers, and like when you've spoken to them at shows, they've just been genuine and down to earth. So I couldn't be happier. But I don't think it's their time. I think they could book a feud off this. They'll start something, and yeah, it doesn't hurt them whatsoever. Next up, we have Kushida versus not Finn Balor. That's hopefully coming soon. Kushida versus Johnny Gargano. Kieran, I'm really hoping Kushida wins with all my heart. Like, I'd love to see him with the belt, but I think Gargano's going to take it.
So do I, because they do love Gargano, don't they?
Yeah. And they don't
cannot get enough of the guy.
They don't know what to do with him without a belt on. Literally. Like, they have no clue what to do with him without a belt on. Unless it's put him with Ciampa, which we don't want. And then the Women's Dusty Classic final. Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon versus Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. I think whoever wins. Oh, Regal announced that whoever wins this gets a tag title shot. I think whoever wins this wins the tag titles, and I think it'd be great to see Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai win the titles. But because Nia and Shayna are a heel, I have a feeling that Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon are going to win. And Kieran, if Shotzi Blackheart wins the tag titles at Mania, that would be a pretty cool moment.
I would love that. She has a fucking tank. come on, you got your entrance sorted for fuck's sake. You know?
I think so I'm going to go with that for that reason.
Yeah, excellent.
I'm assuming you agree. You didn't verbally say it, but I'm assuming you agree. Cool.
Better.
And then finally, this is a wrestling match, but it's the wrestling it's the wrestling version of pornography. This is going to be fantastic. Pete Dunne and Finn Balor, Kieran. I think the winner is inevitable, but I don't really care. I just want them to beat the shit out of each other.
Yes, it'll be Balor, I assume.
Yeah, unless McAfee returns and cost, which would be a cool moment if McAfee cost Balor and Dunne won the belt, and then you'd have Dunne versus Cross, or like Edge teasing Dunne, which we'll get on to Edge in a while. But like the Edge stuff needs to be. They need to decide who he's fighting soon. But Pete Dunne winning the belt would be really cool. He's not very good on the mic. That's the only problem. But if McAfee comes back as his mouthpiece, give me Pete Dunne as the champ. But I think it's a safe bet to say Finn Balor will win.
Yeah, so, I don't think a particularly controversial thing, no.
Yeah, so if there's a prediction contest going on, it all hangs on the Mercedes Martinez or Io Shirai winning. But yeah, that was our takeover run through. Let's talk a bit about AEW, because I love this show, Kieran, and you should if anyone hasn't seen it, go and watch the main event. It was mental. So yeah, they're building towards Revolution, and it was highlighted by this show was highlighted by a Falls Count Anywhere match between Kenta and Omega, the makeshift team, against the makeshift team of former foes Lance Archer and Jon Moxley. So we'll get into the show. We had, if they would just show me the actual thing. Cody Rhodes suffered an injury, which is annoying, but we'll get on to that in a minute. It opened with the show with the Darby Allin versus Joey Janela for the TNT title, Kieran. Joey Janela is back on TV and he got a TNT title shot. He's fighting. They kind of built it up as kind of like they've been rivals before. They've always crossed paths. This, as you would expect, Kieran, was two guys trying to kill each other. It's Joey Janela and it's Darby Allin, so they're going to put their body on the line. Darby Allin hit the coffin drop for the win. I love this match. I like both guys involved. People might not like the style of wrestling that they do, and I agree that it will shorten their careers, but for a while we have them. Fantastic. So yeah, Kieran, we had Cody and Lee Johnson. This was weird against Peter Avalon, and I don't know if you remember this man, Cesar Bononi. He used to be in NXT. You probably remember that, the Brazilian guy that used to be in NXT.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm a fan or anything.
No, but basically, Lee Johnson has been on a losing streak. He's in the Nightmare Family because everyone's in the Nightmare Family. It's like the new NWO, but bad. So Johnson rolled up Avalon and got the win, and they did like a really bad interview afterwards. They're like, "Oh my god, you won! How cool is it to have it in front of your family?" Pretty terrible. Didn't like this at all. But Cody suffered a torn rotator cuff, and fair play to Cody. Because if you're tearing your rotator cuff so we don't have to watch Shaq wrestle in a week or in a few weeks, thank you. But yeah, we'll see how that goes, because it's meant to be Cody and Shaq. Cody and Red Velvet versus Shaq and Jay Cargill on the 3rd of March episode of Dynamite, Kieran. The go home show for thing. Do you have any interest in that whatsoever? And I hope your answer is no. No one has any interest in it yet. Thank you. Next up, we had Pac versus Mini Ziggler. Ziggler's brother, Ryan Nemeth, the hunk. He's really good. Listen, he talked to Chris Van Vliet this week, and he was like, I have short blonde hair now because Ziggler has long brown hair. I've tried to change my character, and people just keep calling me Baby Dolph. But yeah, he's a good wrestler, and there was a segment backstage beforehand between Paige, Matt Hardy, and the Dark Order. This is good, Kieran. Remember I was saying the Hangman Page stuff is the best thing in wrestling? It continues to be. It continues to be. So Hangman had a thing with the Dark Order where John Silver fucked up his line, and he was like, "Damn it, I messed that up," because they're trying to get him back. But basically, Matt Hardy invited Hangman for drinks on him in a bar, and he was like, "I'll be there in a while." And Hangman went to get his wallet, so he's gone to. So we cut away from that, go into the match. Pac taps out Ryan Nemeth with the Brutalizer. And next up, we had the Acclaimed versus MJF and Jericho after the Acclaim threw MJF over the top rope. So Sammy Guevara had a backstage confrontation that ended with Guevara punching MJF in the gut because he found out that MJF was recording him the conversation. And so the match happened, and Bones and Caster cut a good rap, and then Jake Hager pushed Caster off the top turnbuckle, and Jericho with the Judas Effect for the win. Still hate Jericho on the ring. Don't know why they're in the tag match at Full Gear. At Revolution. Really hate it. But what happened afterwards, Sammy Guevara came out and cut a really good babyface promo saying, I said that the next time he messes up, I'm done. I'm finished with the Inner Circle. Goodbye. And he walked out. And Layla Hirsch, the tournament got underway, Kieran. The Japanese side of the bracket is streaming live tomorrow night, Monday night, starting on YouTube. Free on YouTube, 7 p.m. Eastern, 12 our time. But Layla Hirsch versus Thunder Rosa on the American side kicked it off. And Layla Hirsch, I don't know if you've seen her, Kieran. She's barely 4'5", but she is built. She's like a female Kurt Angle. Really good, like amateur wrestler. And her match with Thunder Rosa was very, very good. Rosa avoided a moonsault and hit her finisher to pick up the win. And then she called out Britt Baker afterwards because Britt Baker was a bitch last week. And then we had Kenta and Kenny Omega. Oh wait, sorry. Let me apologize. I want to talk about the Hangman stuff. So Kieran, this is brilliant. Hangman and Hardy are in a bar and they're talking and they're kind of like drinking. And Matt Hardy's doing the thing that he do a private party like Money Matt Hardy. You want to sign a contract with me? We'll get you to the top and all that. And Hangman was like, yeah, because they're loafing back to drinks at this stage. And Hangman. Matt Hardy turns to the camera and like says, I've got him. And Hangman quickly throws the contract away and puts another contract down from his top pocket. This was so good that a lot of people I know missed this, but then they went back and was like, Hangman threw the contract away, took out another contract and signed it. So Matt Hardy thinks he signed his contract, but he signed another contract, but we don't know what that is. And Matt Hardy walks out and like I gotta go. And Hangman just looks at the bartender and goes, can I get another one of those quadruple rum and cokes, please? So really good stuff. I really like it. We don't know what's in the contract, but it's really, really good development. It's slow burning. I love it. But then, Kieran, we had a mental main event. I'm sure you've seen some clips from this main event. Kenta and Kenny Omega versus John Moxley and Lance Archer. Falls count anywhere. Kenta hit a Finn Balor double stomp onto John Moxley from the stage onto the table, and it hit John Moxley straight in the eye. He definitely has a black eye after that. They brawled backstage. Lance Archer hit Kenta with a box of potatoes. Kenny got hit with a lot of potatoes from Moxley. Basically, Kieran, they were just like, I'm gonna kick the fuck out of you until you can't get back. They were pinning each other on like steel like benches in the kitchen, and it kind of culminated with Omega hit Archer with a V trigger after the Good Brothers interrupted. And they needed help for the Good Brother. Like, this was cool. It really put over Archer here, where like they had to like help Kenny get Archer up for the One Winged Angel. Like, he couldn't get him up himself. And he hit the One Winged Angel and got the pin. So that was Dynamite. Dynamite was very, very good this week. I'm really, really excited to see. Next week we have John Moxley, Phoenix, and Penta. Sorry, John Moxley, Penta, and Pac versus Eddie Kingston and the Butcher and the Blade. So AEW are doing really good stuff in NXT tonight. Let's hopefully they can put a marker down. But Wednesday Night Wrestling is good at the moment, Kieran.
Yeah, well, they've been going for a fair while, which is cool. It's nice having fresh wrestling on it.
Yeah, right, Kieran. This is the moment where I wanted to get your opinion on a few things from Raw and Smackdown land. Listen, talk to me about this Elimination Chamber on Raw. Like, what the fuck are they doing?
I don't know. It looks like a fine match. They're doing two of them. I don't know.
They should do it, John. Sure. Yeah, they should do a cross brand one and or they should just do one brand gets the Elimination Chamber, or they should put 3 people from each into them, and like whoever wins gets to.
It just makes the most sense that whichever, say Edge goes for the Raw champion, yeah, then SmackDown use that to decide the number one contender.
Yeah, Kieran.
No?
Again this week, Raw was terrible and SmackDown was great. Kieran, I'm really confused. Why is Jeff Hardy in this match?
So he can do a swanton off the thing, the
I
pod.
know, I know, I know, I know, but he hasn't beaten anyone other than Elias in the last 6 months. Listen, Sheamus is merited. Fine. He feuded with McIntyre, blah, blah, blah. AJ Styles, he's AJ Styles. Put Damian Priest in there. Like, if you want to build a star, put
Is he even
Damian.
on? He is, isn't he?
He,
Huh.
debuted on Raw.
They want to keep strong, and they're doing stuff with him and Bad Bunny. I don't know.
Bad Bunny's on SNL tonight. So people who said, who's Bad Bunny? There you go. The Miz, get fucked. Like, did you see the promo that Edge cut this week on the Miz, Kieran?
No.
The Miz came out and literally goes to Edge, like, if you win, I'm gonna have this briefcase and I'm gonna cash in. You know, that kind of the typical Miz promo.
Yeah.
And Edge cut a fantastic promo, and it was a promo, but it was literally explaining the obvious to all of us. He literally just goes, "How stupid are you? I haven't revealed my decision. You're telling me what you're gonna do. It's like, you're telling me I should have eyes in the back of my head. So when I win the belt, I'm going to be. I built my career as the ultimate opportunist. You're telling. I don't need to, like. I'm better than you, but and any advantage you had, you just lost by telling me that you were going to cash in after I lose. Basically, it was brilliant. It was like, yeah, duh. I don't like this. Raw is dreadful. Apart from the highlight was Keith Lee versus Matt Riddle, which was a great match, and Lashley attacked him afterwards, and it's a triple threat for the US title at the show. Keith Lee versus Riddle versus Bobby Lashley. I like Bobby Lashley as a wrestler, so I'm not complaining here. But Kieran, what was I gonna say? Yeah, this just isn't good. Like, I've been talking to a lot of people who watch wrestling when in the glory days. I've used them comments there. We're not on a video podcast, and it was Royal Rumble, No Way Out, and then Mania. Now we have Elimination Chamber and Fastlane, and I don't get why the winner of the Rumble wins the Rumble, which is a title shot, and then there's people winning Elimination Chamber to get a title shot after this, and too many pay-per-views, way too many pay-per-views, and it's Fastlane shouldn't even exist. And what are your thoughts on the whole, like, schedule building up to Mania? I think there's just too much going on for it to work cleanly and be enjoyable.
I don't really mind it, but like I do feel like I watch an Elimination Chamber. That's fine. I don't really care about the one afterwards. I think everyone's always felt like that's just a filler one. They've only really started doing it in the last couple of years as well. No one really cares about it. And that's the big problem, I suppose. Who gives a shit about what is it this year? Fastlane or Roadblock or what?
It's Fastlane, yeah. We watched Elimination Chamber in my house last year. I remember that. Or was it 2 years ago?
That was.
Oh, that can't be 2 years. When Daniel Bryan and Kofi had that amazing thing. I think that was 2. That must have been 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Fucking hell, life is far too short, lads. Embrace, treasure life. It's far too short. But yeah, I want to get on to SmackDown because I thought it was fantastic. But I want to talk about Ali. I don't know if you saw the promo, Kieran. The promo on Raw Talk. He cut a 8-minute promo about Kofi Kingston, and it was perfect. He said the line, "Say it with Kofi. Come on, I know how you feel. Come out and say it with your chest. Oh wait, you don't have one." Like, literally, just he was talking about, like, the producers. He was like, when I came onto the set, when other people on the set, it was okay, but when I came onto the set, people are really, really nervous. And it took you 5 years to, like, get my name right. My name is Mustafa Ali. And if this isn't a Mania programming in Kofi and Mustafa, if you want a non-title program that is going to be fantastic and people can get invested in, Kofi versus Ali has to happen. I will die on that hill. I think Kofi versus Ali will be a fantastic WrestleMania match. And it would save the Retribution stuff. It would 100% save the Retribution stuff. Because I will admit, we admitted when it was bad. it has been Kofi Ali building it on Raw Talk and having Heyman there selling it fantastically was fantastic. And we're going to move swiftly on to SmackDown side because Cesaro cut a promo on Talking Smack this week, Kieran.
Great promo.
Great promo. And then
is it? I don't know. I can't remember any of his promos.
This is his best promo ever. Yeah, 100%. And then Daniel Bryan came on with Cesaro on Talking Smack and started talking about Paul Heyman being like, "Oh, seems like a lot of your clients just don't wrestle." Remember when people wanted Cesaro to be a Paul Heyman guy? Thank God he wasn't, because Cesaro loves to wrestle. Have you got Roman on the Paul Heyman? Have you got Roman on the Brock Lesnar contract? Is that what's going on here? Because they announced on SmackDown, Roman Reigns is defending the title inside the Elimination Chamber. Because Paul Heyman looked at the contract and said, "You said he has to defend it at Elimination Chamber." So he said Roman will defend the title against whoever wins the Elimination Chamber straight at on the same night. Perfect storytelling. Gets Roman over as someone who is too good for the rule, makes his own rules, marches to the beat of his own drum, tribal chief. Kieran, this was brilliant.
Yes, I am happy with this. And it'll probably be a good match. So
yeah, and we'll get on to what happened after that later. But Mr. Seth Rollins came back here and he used his baby for heel heat. He had everyone. He was in a very leather, like a suit that had like the shirt was leather as well. I was like, what's this? He was in a suit and the ring was surrounded by people, and he basically said, I have a new vision and you guys need to be with me. And if anyone, no one can see me here, but I'm pumping my fist. I don't know why. I'm getting into the Rollins. I like his little thing in his entrance now, where like when the kind of the music kind of hits its peak, he does that kind of the choir thing. The like close your hand. I mean, I don't love the character, but like there's nothing wrong with it, and I'm not really like against it or anti Seth Rollins. It's better than his babyface character, jeez. But Kieran, I really enjoyed this where like everyone left and then Cesaro stayed and he was like, "Oh yeah, Cesaro's fine," and Cesaro just laughed, and then he beat up Rollins, and that set up the main event, which was Cesaro and Bryan versus who did Cesaro and Bryan beat to qualify for the Elimination Chamber? It would have been Ziggler and Rude. So Rollins just beat him up. So that kind of sows the seeds for Seth Rollins versus Cesaro down the line, which Cesaro might be cost the title by Seth Rollins in the Elimination Chamber. Like I'm not complaining with that, Kieran. Cesaro versus heel Seth Rollins. If this is Cesaro's like babyface turn for Mania, like if he's not going to be in a title picture, which we're going to assume he isn't, Cesaro versus Seth Rollins is something that I'd love to see.
Yeah, I'd be waiting for that. 100%.
Yeah, and then I want to get onto this because what else happened? The Nia Jax stuff happened. Blah 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 blah. But Kieran, this main event, they had the tag team match, and Sami Zayn and Corbin qualified, so I'm happy with that. Like Corbin's going to be in the match, but I'm happy Sami Zayn's in the Elimination Chamber, because he's doing good stuff right now. Apollo Crews attacked Big E after the bell after he beat. Who did he face for the IC belt? He fought someone for the. He beat. Apollo Crews attacked him after it, so they're continuing with that storyline. He beat Shinsuke. Shinsuke answered an open challenge. So a great match, and then Apollo interrupts, showing a bit of fire, showing a bit of character, Kieran, good old Apollo Crews, not smiling, not doing a backflip.
Yeah, he does it, yeah.
Good to see it. Good man. So patronizing. But yeah, so the main event. So Cesaro is not human, Kieran.
For what?
Have you seen the reversal that he did on Daniel Bryan last week? He reversed a running knee into a torture rack and dropped Daniel Bryan on his knee back first from a height. And his knee buckles, as you can see it. He took the full impact of that on his knee. Daniel Bryan took the full impact on his back. But I don't know. They reversed a running knee into a torture rack. But Cesaro is tapping people out with a sharpshooter. He's doing the Cesaro swing into the sharpshooter and tapping them, and he really sits into it, and you can see like a sharpshooter isn't really locked in. Natalia. Cesaro really, really sits into it, and he put away Ziggler and Rude, and then obviously Sammy and Ting come out, and all of a sudden from behind, Jey Uso, who Adam Pearce announced that Jey Uso and Kevin Owens were both in the Elimination Chamber. They don't need to qualify. So Jey Uso hits the two lads from behind with a chair, and then all the lads are like melee in the ring. And then Kevin Owens' music hits. He comes down, stunner, 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 going stunner crazy, stunners Uso, and then sits down in the chair. And I don't know about you, Kieran, but I'm a sucker for these kind of things where Kevin Owens sat down on the chair, looked into the hard cam without a mic, didn't need a mic, and just said, "I'm coming for you, Roman, and I will win that belt." I love because it gets the realism over. I think Moxley and Eddie did as well, but when you don't use a mic and you don't have that mic in front of your face, it just adds tenfold realism to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. No,
Yeah,
yeah, good
and
segment.
and listen, this story has gone on long, but if Kevin Owens wins the Elimination Chamber and wins the belt, if Roman wins it back a month later, like I would love to see. I honestly, I would love. I don't mind if Kevin Owens wins the belt. I would love to see Kevin Owens win the belt. I don't know who they're going to pick. I think Daniel Bryan might be, sadly, a really, really good sitting lamb for this kind of spot where he wins where everyone's like, oh my god, he wins the Elimination Chamber, and then like get over Roman even more by just like beating the crap out of a like because everyone knows that that kind of thing, Kieran, where it's like Daniel Bryan has he's a lot of injuries, he could
Yeah.
did this match will take a lot out of him. And everyone was like, "Oh my god, he won! He'll do everything, and he'll be like battered at the end. He might come in at number 2 or something."
Mm.
And then oh, our favorite wrestler who like only has one match in him has nothing left, and he's forced to use his shot now. That will get over Roman tenfold, no matter what the storyline is for Mania. And I'm really, really excited to see where that plays out.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting story. I don't know. I don't know who's going to fight at Mania myself.
I don't know who's going to fight for Mania. What do you think's going to happen with Elimination Chamber?
I mean, he's
Fast
not going to lose the title, is he?
Fastlane gives them the opportunity to do something. Like if they wanted to do something, the only positive about the pay-per-view there really isn't, but there is an opportunity to maneuver back. But I think Roman has to keep the belt.
He will. I don't think he can take the loss. I guess for Fastlane, Roman won't have a match. It'll rather be set up for whatever he's doing. Either fucking like The Rock will show up or something, or that'll be Edge being like, "All right, Roman, I'm picking you." You know,
I'd love to see.
Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, but even if if Fastlane has to be a thing, like Christian has talked about the return. Just get Christian over to SmackDown, and have Edge and Christian against the Usos. Have Jimmy Uso return, have Edge and Christian against the Usos, because that is a dream match. Have it Edge and Christian versus the Usos in a chair match. So because Jimmy Uso seems to be wielding this chair right now. Roman and Jay versus Edge and Christian. I'd love to see that. Listen. The thing is with SmackDown, there won't be many things that I'll be unhappy with, unless Corbin wins out of nowhere, and yeah, which won't happen. But SmackDown is booking it so well right now that we don't need to kind of. There is no like one thing we want to see, and the rest is all shite, which I'm really happy about, which is really really good. Um, we say this every week. It's sad, but like, how are they? Like, it has to be Paul Heyman, Kieran. It has to be Paul Heyman's direct influence on the product.
I mean, I don't know, because when Paul Heyman was on Raw, it wasn't like amazing.
I
It was better
know,
than what it is now, but like it wasn't incredible at any stage.
I know, but there has to be something. Like, come on, there has to be something.
I don't know, it could just be different writers, or it could just be these performers are better at working with this material.
Yeah, Kieran, you're being recorded. It says avoid legal snags by telling people they're being recorded. You've been recorded all the time. Sorry. We cut out there. The kind of internet cut out, but the podcast is saved. I shit myself for a few seconds, I will admit. I heard about like the guy who played Malcolm, and like you can probably, I don't know what the name of the guy is because I haven't really seen him in much other things. But apparently he's like can't remember a lot of the show, which is sad, but it's probably a byproduct of like the era that era of TV that he lived in was probably quite a heavy kind of drinking on set and going out after like filming, and obviously the drug scene was quite big then. So hopefully he's okay. But is there a lot as someone who like is into like the movie industry, Karen, is there a lot of that where like you see a lot of like actors and stuff where they're like they can't really remember like their highlights, and people have to kind of like remind them of like what kind of a good person and influence they were?
I don't know. It happens a bit. It depends on the person. Some people know exactly what they've done and how they've done it, and other people show up on set, do a great job, and immediately forget about what they did. and the next day. It depends on the actor and the person, and I don't know. Some people can get away with it, some people can't.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
long as you're doing a good job, I don't really mind.
Yeah, but yeah, WandaVision for Kieran's recommendation, and my recommendations this week. So, last week you heard me say about a good like friends from college radio show. You know, the college radio is a fantastic thing, and you meet people, you meet new people, and then you get onto the college radio. And this podcast is kind of like proof of like if you do college radio or you just dip your toe in something, it turns into something. Because Murish, Katie, Ethan, Louise, and James just launched their podcast. So the first episode is out tomorrow, and like we are a podcast where we review things. We like to talk about wrestling, and people listen to who watch wrestling. But this is like, and especially I think it really important in this kind of pandemic here. And you know the way one of the things that everyone harps on about is you miss that kind of human interaction with your friends, or like going to the pub or going to someone's house, having a few drinks, and like just chatting like and like shooting the shit and talking to people. So like that's one of the best things about it. And this radio show that they have for an hour is basically that. It's just people talking about stuff that's in the news and having a laugh. And now they've turned it into like a bonus show on Mondays where they're going to put it on Spotify and just have a chat and talk about stuff. And that's kind of a different kind of podcast to what I normally listen to, but I'm really looking forward to just like listening to it and having a laugh. So that's Tomfoolery on DCU. Tomfoolery, they're 2 to 3 on Twitch for DCUFM, but the podcast is on Spotify. I'll link it below as we do. We link everything below with the with recommendations. And the second one is obviously the COVID world is gone. Like we're all in this scary COVID world, and nobody knows what's going on still. Sometimes Bolsonaro this week just said that the vaccine is turning people into crocodiles. Even the world leaders don't know what they're doing. But Ruby and Matthew, 2 of my good friends, started a podcast or launched the podcast. The trailer's out now called What in the World Is. So basically they're going to get young people on, they're going to get people in charge on, and they're going to talk about what's going on at the moment with COVID. They're going to educate people, they're going to like talk about problems and help people who might be unclear as to certain things like the vaccine and stuff. They got a lot of guests lined up. They got a really, really good like show set up, and it's really good because they're both our age, Kieran, and it's going to be really cool to hear a public voice of people that are our age, if you get me. It's going to be really cool to see a perspective from because we hear a lot of people giving a voice, but they're all older than us. And the main complaint with the Leaving Cert was a big one, and I'm sure they're going to discuss it, is that like they weren't letting people our age, like there wasn't people our age going in front of the Dáil or going in front of like government and outlining why this was an issue. So this is going to be really cool. Yeah, and like what would that be something that you'd be interested in, Karen? Because I know you talk about like I've seen you talk about the Leaving Cert when it was going through that, and it's really good to have, and you're quiet, like you were quiet spoken, so it's really good to have like people our age who can like let their voices be heard and kind of make sense of it all, and we are more likely to listen to people our age.
Yeah, no, I do think it is, and just I don't know, it's if people our age feel like their voices are being heard. Say someone our age says something like stupid or whatever, but they just get ignored and people don't have the time and patience to explain to them why it's stupid. They will just feel like they are being ignored, not because they're wrong, just because people ignoring them are dicks, you know? And so even, I don't know, people just need to be heard and talk to like a regular person, and then maybe things will change. And maybe they'll be right, maybe they'll be wrong, but they need their opinions out there. That's my opinion.
So I'll link the Twitter because it's got a lot of letters in it. It's What in the World Is podcast. It's on Instagram and on all podcast platforms. Their first episode will be launching soon. I'll put the links in the description. All fantastic people. Great to see new additions to the podcast world, and 2 niche areas, and I'm sure that they will do very, very well. So yeah, shout out to those 2. I had to do that this week because good people deserve to be advertised. We always like to advertise. I love this. My 2 favorite segments on this podcast, Kieran, are the first one where we talk shit, and the second one is the one where we plug shit. I love it. But yeah, as for us, Kieran, you can find us on Project Dits. You can find all the great podcasts on Project Dits, plus at a time, The Worst Wrestling, and Dits himself. Dits is on Twitch. He streams every night, which is crazy. He's doing some really good stuff over there. You can find us on Hallway Graps Pod on Twitter. We have a TikTok as well, but Kieran hasn't used it in a while. But we might reboot that soon. I've been deep diving on TikTok, and it's a very it's a bottomless pit once you get into it. So we might get back on TikTok soon. We'll never use Instagram. T-shirts, tpublic.com/Hallway Wrestling Podcast. Superkicks.com. Shout out Callum and Jamie. 10% off using the Hallway. And Kieran, I was on the Ringsiders pod this week. Me and Callum interviewed Regina Rosendahl from Finland about mental health and wrestling in Finland. So go check that out on the Ringsiders podcast. They are great boys, two of our best friends. So go and check them out. They're streets ahead of everyone in the interviewing game. And just listen, there are some big things coming up for Project Dits. We have so many interviews coming out this week. This past week, as you're listening to this tonight, we had Jesse, which is a great chat with a really good friend that we've met through this world. We have Joe Hendry this week, dropped Friday. We have LJ Cleary dropping the following week. And we have Overkill Mark Haskins dropping on the 5th of March.
There you go. Awesome.
And where we might be doing something to do with a few charities soon. We might be something in the works to kind of give back to kind of in this crazy world. It's a big project, but I'm really, and it could be a lot of fun. So check out on the socials for that. And until next week, we'll see you. Kieran, you've been wonderful as always. You are my one true Valentine. I love you dearly. Take us home.
Well, I have been your host, Kieran Brennan. With
sandbagging my plea for
you.
Fuck you. I fucking hate you as well.
I've been your host, Kieran Brennan. With me is always my prick.
Your prick. Wow. I am his prick. The man of generator got ran.
And as you say it then every episode of Horror Wrestling Podcast, fuck Valentine's Day. I hate it.
You cut out there. So as Kieran says at the end of every episode of the Hallway Wrestling Podcast, he loves Finn Balor, Vera, hand him over, it's right, give him back. Kieran will play customs if you ship him over to Ireland. And John Silver, I love you, baby. Happy Valentine's Day. The Meat Man, Johnny Hungry. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye.